there's an interesting article out there connecting 3 current NFL free agents still available on the open market to the Washington Commanders, and they suggest that the Commanders should sign these 3 players before the start of training camp here for the 2024 season. Welcome into the Commanders Report. I am your host, Jack Sperry. We're going to get into these 3 potential Commanders free agency targets here in just a second. I'll give my thoughts on those ideas. But before we get into that, make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we have daily and free Commanders content for you guys here on YouTube every single day. We have breaking news coverage every time they make a move. So if they sign one of these receivers or free agents that we're going to be talking about today, we'll be giving you guys breaking news content. We have a weekly live show every single Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern. And oh yeah, guys, did I mention it's all 100% free? So if you bleed burgundy and gold and you want to become an expert on this football team, this is going to be the place for you. Make sure you click that subscribe button right now. So let's start here with these free agency targets. And the first one they mentioned in this article from Clutch Points is Michael Thomas. Now, the author of this article was a man named Enzo Flojo, one of the best names I've ever heard in my entire life, works for Clutch Points. This is what he had to say about Michael Thomas to the Commanders. With a career marked by spectacular catches and clutch plays, Thomas would provide the Commanders with a reliable and explosive option in the passing game. His leadership and mentorship would be invaluable to the development of the team's younger receivers. And guys, when it comes to Michael Thomas here, I actually wouldn't mind this move. Now, yes, you're probably saying at home, Jack, Michael Thomas can't stay healthy. Jack, he hasn't been a big-time number 1 type receiver since 2019, and you would be correct about that. But Michael Thomas is somebody that brings a lot of size to the table, okay, something the Commanders' wide receiver room just doesn't have a whole lot of right now. 212 pounds at 6'3". He's known as a very strong hands catcher, and because of his ability to make those tough catches mixed with that size, it makes him one of the more premier red zone threats in the National Football League when he's healthy. And then the short and intermediate route running is actually really good as well. Now, the cons, I mean, it's not like Thomas doesn't come with red flags, right? There is a reason why he's still available on the open market right now. Obviously, he has that extensive injury history that he's had over the last several seasons. Can't stay on the field. Number 2, he had some kind of a falling out with the New Orleans Saints organization. Wasn't really seen as a locker room kind of guy. Also, he's 31 years old, mixed with that injury history, and then the recent production over the last 2 seasons when he's been on the field has taken a dip. But here's the thing, guys. He would come cheap, and I think that the pros maybe outweigh the negatives here, especially because he would provide this team something that it just doesn't have a whole lot of, which is size at the wide receiver position. Now, in terms of what I think is going to happen, I don't think Michael Thomas is going to come to the Washington Commanders. I think Washington kind of likes where their wide receiver room is right now, with Terry McLaurin as their legit number 1 guy. I think they feel really good about Jahan Dotson heading into his 3rd year, and I still think they like some of their depth pieces. I think, obviously, they like Luke McCaffrey coming out of Rice. They drafted him at the end of the 3rd round this year. De'Ami Brown is somebody that I think has a nice skill set that pairs with Jaden Daniels' really beautiful deep ball. So I think that they like their wide receivers, and even though I wouldn't mind if the Commanders signed Michael Thomas for a cheap contract, I probably don't think it's going to happen at this point in time. Now, let me know down there in the comment section, would you sign wide receiver Michael Thomas in NFL free agency? Type S if you would sign him, or type P if you are going to pass on him. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show, so YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question. Next up on the list of free agency targets here for the Commanders, Calais Campbell, defensive lineman, formerly with a bunch of different teams, the Ravens, the Cardinals, most recently with the Atlanta Falcons. This is what Flojo had to say about Campbell. Known for his versatility and leadership, Campbell's ability to disrupt opposing offenses would be a game changer for Washington's defense. His experience and tenacity make him an ideal fit for the Commanders' aggressive defensive philosophy. In addition, his off-field leadership would be a boon for the locker room. Now, when it comes to Calais Campbell here, I think that he would fit in well with what Dan Quinn wants to do in terms of the 5 technique position. So I think right now what their plan is they really like Johnny Newton. Obviously, they took him in the 2nd round of the draft this year. You see at that defensive end spot. I think that's going to be more of like a 3-4 defensive end type. That's more of an interior player. A 5 technique is kind of the terminology that we use for that type of player. And Calais Campbell has played that kind of role throughout his career, and he's been one of the best in football for many years at that spot. So if the Commanders don't really feel confident that Johnny Newton's going to be ready for the season, he just got another foot surgery. That's his second foot surgery of the offseason to this point. If they don't feel good about him coming back off that surgery and really being able to start right away, I do think that Calais Campbell could provide some value in the short term and provide depth long-term at that position. Now, I don't think that this is going to happen, all right? I think at this point, if they were interested in Calais, they probably would have gotten him. And then also from Campbell's point of view here, I think at this point in his career, he's trying to win championships. He's trying to win a Super Bowl here to kind of finish out his career and ride off into the sunset, Indiana Jones style here. But, you know, I'm looking at him, and I just don't think, and I'm looking at the Commanders, and I just don't really think it's a fit because Washington's a rebuilding team. I still think they're probably another year away from really asserting themselves as competitors in the NFC. So I do think that this probably isn't the best fit, and I don't think it's going to end up happening. Now, coming up here on the Commanders Report, we got one more free agency target, and then I'll give you my 3 free agency target ideas to finish up today's show. But before we get into that, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Fanatics. Go to chatsports.com/DQ to get this awesome Commanders ball cap in your collection today. And as you guys know, Dan Quinn, our new head coach here in Washington, loves to rock the backwards hat on game days. Now, I'm not sure if he's actually going to be doing it now that he's a head coach, but he loves that backwards hat look. And if you want to rock the Dan Quinn look during Commanders game days this year, you can do so with a stylish ball cap with the Commanders logo on there for a great price when you go to chatsports.com/DQ. I'm going to put the link to that in the comments and description. If you click that link and you make a purchase, our friends at Fanatics are going to give us a part of the proceeds, so that really does help out the channel, guys. If you want to help out the channel, you want to rock the DQ look this season here, go to chatsports.com/DQ today. And the final free agent target here in this Clutch Points article is Marcus Peters, the former Pro Bowl cornerback here. And this is what Flojo had to say about this potential fit. Peters' knack for creating turnovers and making pivotal plays in crucial moments is exactly what the team needs to close out tight games. Peters' experience and football IQ would serve as a stabilizing force in the secondary. He could provide guidance to younger players and elevate the unit's overall performance. And listen, man, what I think here is I think Enzo is probably living in 2019, the last time Marcus Peters was actually a good cornerback. And, you know, last year with the Raiders, his coverage grade was okay, but at this point in his career, Peters is one of the worst tackling corners in the National Football League, and I just don't think that's something that the Washington Commanders want to bring into their building. Now, maybe if there's an injury or something like that, I mean, sure, maybe think about bringing him in. I think that his play style fits kind of what Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr., the new defensive coordinator, want to do here. He's got tons of experience as a man corner, but at this point in his career, terrible tackler, one of the worst in football in terms of, you know, veteran cornerbacks. So I just don't think I like this at all, and I probably wouldn't bring in Marcus Peters unless there's a major injury of some sort. So now, you know, we've gone over this Clutch Points article and the 3 free agents that they would have the Commanders go out and sign. Now it's my turn. I got 3 free agent picks for the Washington Commanders. These are the 3 guys I would go out and sign right now if I were GM Adam Peters, if I had to sign 3 free agents. Okay, now let's start with Stephon Gilmore. You guys know that I want Stephon Gilmore on this team. Now, does he want to play for a rebuilding team like the Commanders? Maybe not. But, I mean, I think if he comes to a rebuilding team, I think that this is probably the place for him, okay? He's played under Joe Witt Jr. He was the former secondaries coach there with Dallas, and of course he's played under Dan Quinn in this system, and he played pretty darn well there last year with the Dallas Cowboys. I still think he's more than a capable starter in the National Football League, and I think that his experience being one of the best corners in football would really rub off well when it comes to a guy like Emmanuel Forbes, who's still trying to establish his presence in the league. Then we get David Bakhtiari, and this is another guy here where I'm not sure if he'd want to come play for a rebuilding team like the Commanders, but hey, man, if the Commanders are the only team offering him a starting job, I mean, he's got to start somewhere right here. So Bakhtiari has been dealing with a lot of injuries, but he's consistently grading as an elite pass protector, and we know how much the Commanders are going to be throwing the football this year with Jaden Daniels, and you got to protect his blind side. The left tackle position is an absolute mess for the Commanders right now, in my opinion. David Bakhtiari immediately fixes that problem, and if he can stay on the field, Jaden Daniels is going to be well protected on the left side. Then the final guy here, a little bit of commonality here from me and Clutch Points, Michael Thomas. I would like to bring him in, especially for a cheaper contract. He provides that size that just really isn't present here with the Washington Commanders. They did get Luke McCaffrey in the draft this year, who's a little bit of a bigger receiver, but he's unproven. Michael Thomas is somebody that is proven that when he's on the field and he is healthy, he's one of the best outside wide receivers in football. And, you know, when he was on the field last year for the Saints, I thought he played pretty darn well. He still has super strong hands. Might not be as explosive as a route runner as he used to be, but he's still pretty darn savvy in that regard. And I think he could provide something, especially in short yardage and in the red zone, that right now the Commanders, you can argue, don't have that kind of size and big presence in their receiver room right now. Okay, guys, let me know down there in the comments section. It is now your turn. We heard from Clutch Points. We heard from me, who I would go get in free agency. Now let me know what you guys would do. Which NFL free agent do you want the Washington Commanders to sign before the start of the season? Can't wait to see your answers down there in the comments section. And don't forget to click that subscribe button right now, because if you made it to the end of today's video and you love our content here and you watch our videos but you haven't clicked that subscribe button yet, what are you waiting for, man? You get notifications every single time we put out new content, and you get to join our family of over 15,000 Commanders fans all across the world.